Welcome back, everyone. My name is Will Alexander, General Manager of Property Management at Property Brokers. Tonight we're talking about the last topic of the online version of the RTA Roadshows, which we've been doing throughout the country. And tonight we're talking about regulation, which I'm excited about. I never thought I'd say that. I don't get excited about regulation, but in this instance, absolutely needed. The industry has been advocating for it for a long time. So let's get into it. Every year, $14 billion of rent is paid in New Zealand by people renting properties. And guess what? It's not regulated. What industry has that amount of money going through the books and it's not regulated? There's billions of dollars in the bond centre. You just only have to do the math. Absolutely crazy. In 2010, the industry, property management, was deregulated. When I started years and years ago, before that, I had to get a license. I couldn't be a property manager until I had my license, which was great. It was accountability more than anything, but it was deregulated in 2010. All the owners and the directors of the major firms lobbied the government. They sat down with them, they put their trust account statements on the table and said, look at how much money is passing through my trust account on a daily basis. Why would you deregulate this industry? They did it anyway, and ever since then, for the last 10 years, we've been advocating for it. Last year, RINES, the Real Estate Institute of New Zealand, created a fantastic campaign called A Call for Change to garner interest and awareness of the fact that we needed regulation. They did a wonderful job. And I'm really pleased to say that they're listening. I don't know if you remember before the election, Jacinda Ardern flagged something. She said that we're looking to regulate the industry. Well, I'm really pleased to share with you tonight that Minister Chris Farfoy has come out and he's confirmed that they are going to regulate property management. Brilliant news. What I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to play you a short video from Minister Farfoy, giving you a little bit of an overview about what they're going to do, some of the key points, and I guess this is what's going to happen over the next term. So sit back and watch.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity to address the Real Estate Institute's Residential Property Management Conference. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but there are one or two matters I need to be across here in Wellington after Saturday's election, namely making sure the PM doesn't forget who I am amongst all the new faces in our Labour Party caucus. But in all seriousness, I'd like to acknowledge your Institute's Chief Executive, Bindi Norwell. Bindi is a tireless advocate for the real estate sector, and we'd like to thank you for that. I valued her and the Institute's input and discussions we've had, particularly with regards to regulating the property management industry and in the aftermath of level 4 lockdown, where returning to our new normal meant dealing with different challenges. So thank you to the Real Estate Institute of New Zealand for the positive working relationship we've had to date. Now, look, I know you will be aware of our intention, signalled before the election as part of our Labour's housing policy, to introduce a code of conduct and licensing regime for property managers. But we share the Institute's desire to see standards in property management that are reliable, trustworthy, and put the protection of tenants and landlords at the centre of those standards. Along with the Institute, we have listened to the likes of the Property Council, Tenants Protection Organisations, Consumer New Zealand, the Salvation Army, the CAB and others who have been calling for action to lift the standards for property management. The drivers for lifting those standards are the same as the objectives that we had for the residential tenancy reforms, which of course we passed back in August. And those objectives are to support a fair and balanced environment which provides certainty for both tenants and of course also for landlords. Property managers are often the landlord's representative who tenants are dealing with face to face, and tenants need to feel safe that they can deal with these representatives in a professional way without fear of exploitation or any cowboy conduct. So we'll work with the Real Estate Institute and others in the industry to develop a regime which will likely draw on aspects of the regulatory regime governing real estate agents. We see a property manager's code of conduct, including a good character test, as well as providing clear processes for tenants and their advocates to raise and resolve issues that they may have with their property managers. Look, no one questions the sense in having somebody selling your house licensed and regulated to ensure good professional standards are followed and legal obligations are met. So, likewise, no one should question the sense in having a person who acts as the manager of a property licensed and regulated to ensure they're operating responsibly and in accordance with an acceptable code of behaviour. We all know that more New Zealanders than ever are renting these days, and renting for longer, if not for life. And they need to know that they can raise issues to or about their property manager without fear of losing their home or being blacklisted with future landlords and property managers. And by the same token, those landlords and property managers who are operating in a fair and responsible way need to know that their good work isn't being undermined by any disreputable players.
Well, there you go. Heard it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And it is exciting. And he's identified some really interesting points within that video. Firstly, the minister or the government are going to work with industry bodies like RINES to make sure they consult with people on the ground that know their industry thoroughly. I think that is fantastic, and it's a credit to those guys for getting that on the ground feedback. Second thing is they're going to introduce a code of conduct, a good character test. What I talked about earlier in one of the other sections I did was not being on the black book and needing a license. If you're having to do a good character test to get a property manager license and you're on the black book or whatever, good luck. So that's really good. Third thing they identified there in that video was what they introduced for sales all those years ago has worked. The licensing regime has worked. So that's what they're going to do for property management. They've got the framework, they can see how it can come together, they've acknowledged that it's working, so if you're looking for any sort of guide, that's probably what they're going to be doing. Other thing he points out is this coincides with generation rent. You've heard me say it throughout this series, New Zealand is changing. How we live changes. People make decisions now to live in properties, and they will be living in rental properties for a long, long time. If that's the case, then you've got the RTA to back it up, you've got the healthy home standards to back it up, but you also need the regulation. You need the people acting as agents for the landlords to be regulated. And the last thing he points out, which I'm pretty passionate about, is it gets rid of the people in the industry that pull down this whole thing. The people that purposely contract outside of the Act. All those headline stories, they're the minority, but they pull it down badly. They will get out of this industry, they will lose their license, they won't be able to be a property manager. See you later, good news. We are all really happy about that. So to summarise all the regulation stuff, I'll do that pretty quickly. I think there's three critical issues that we as an industry need to work with. I'm part of the sector group for property management that is working with RINES. Very proud to be on that sector group. We represent the industry across New Zealand. There are three critical things at the moment. So there's the regulation, there's the healthy home standards, and the other thing we really need to sort out is the methamphetamine. What is it? Is it 1.5 or is it 15 or is it somewhere in the middle? Those three things we really need to get sorted out in the near future. That's the regulation. So overall, the sky's not falling, guys. What is happening in this industry is it's becoming much more specialised. You need to know what you're doing. Property brokers, we know what we're doing. We love our industry. We love working with our owners and our tenants, and look forward to continue working with you in the future. So I hope you learned a lot, and thank you for everyone that attended the roadshow things that we did around the country. It's been amazing. It has been really, really cool project to finish off a nuts year, to be honest. 2020 will stand out in our memories for a long time.